Here's a number that should Here's a number that should bother you. Roughly half of men in their 40s have less than $10,000 saved for retirement, not because they're lazy, not because they didn't work hard, because nobody ever taught them the handful of decisions that actually separate the men who build wealth from the men who just survive paycheck to paycheck for 30 years. In the next 10 minutes, I'm going to walk through exactly why that happens, and more importantly, what to do about it starting this week, even if you're starting from zero at 40, 45, or later. I'm not going to pretend this is purely academic. I've sat at the kitchen table doing the math on a Sunday night, knowing the number wasn't where it should be for my age. That feeling is common, but it's rarely talked about, because admitting it feels like admitting failure. It isn't. It's just a starting point. The good news, the men who turn this around aren't doing anything exotic. They're making a small number of decisions correctly and consistently, and avoiding a small number of traps that quietly drain decades of progress. The first reason most men have nothing saved by 40 is lifestyle inflation. Every raise, every bonus, every bit of extra income got absorbed into a slightly nicer car, a slightly bigger house, slightly more expensive habits, before any of it touched savings. This isn't a character flaw, it's the default. Spending rises to meet income unless you deliberately interrupt it. The fix isn't austerity, it's a rule. Any raise or windfall, at least half goes straight to savings or investments before it ever hits your everyday account. You never miss money you never see. The second reason, most men never built an actual system, they just had intentions. "I'll start saving once things settle down" is a sentence that can be said for 20 straight years. Intentions don't compound, systems do. The fix is automation. A fixed percentage of every paycheck moved automatically into savings or a retirement account before you ever see it removes willpower from the equation entirely. Start at 10%. If that feels impossible right now, start at 5% and increase it every 6 months. The amount matters less than the habit of it happening without your involvement. Third, divorce, job loss, a business that didn't work out, supporting aging parents or adult kids. These events hit men in their 40s hard, and most never go back and rebuild a plan afterward. They just keep going day to day, and the gap quietly widens for years. If something has knocked your finances sideways, the move isn't shame, it's a deliberate reset. Sit down, look at where you actually stand today, no judgment, and rebuild forward from that real number instead of an old plan that no longer applies. Fourth, and this is the one most men get wrong, believing that starting at 40 or 45 is too late to matter. It isn't. 20 years of consistent investing still produces real, meaningful growth. The man who starts at 45 and stays consistent will be in a dramatically stronger position at 65 than the man who never started at all. The cost of waiting another 5 years thinking, "I'll start when I have more," is far higher than the discomfort of starting small right now. So here's the actual starting point. Today, not someday. 1. Write down your real number, what you have saved right now, no rounding up. 2. Set one automatic transfer, even if it's small, starting this week. 3. Pick one expense category to cut by 20% for the next 90 days and redirect that money to savings. 3 steps, not a complicated spreadsheet, not a 47-step plan you'll abandon in February. 3 things you can do before this week is over. To bring it together, lifestyle inflation quietly eats raises before they become savings. Intentions without automation rarely turn into action. Life events knock men sideways without anyone forcing a reset, and starting late is still infinitely better than not starting. Fix those 4 things and you're already ahead of most men your age. If you had to be honest with yourself right now, which of these 4 is actually holding you back? Lifestyle creep, no system, a life event you never recovered from, or just telling yourself it's too late, put it in the comments. I read every one of them. And if this gave you something useful, subscribe, because this is exactly the kind of conversation we're having every week here at the Reserve Man. You made it to the end of this video, and that alone tells me something about you. Most men scroll past this conversation entirely. They're not ready to look at the number, not ready to admit the gap, not ready to do the uncomfortable work of starting over or starting late. You stayed. That matters. Here's what I want you to walk away with today. Not a 10-step system, not a complicated spreadsheet, just one decision, one automatic transfer, one number, however small, moving in the right direction before this week is over. The second half of a man's life doesn't have to look like the first half. It can be sharper, more deliberate, built on what you know now rather than what you wished you'd known then. That's what we do here at the Reserve Man every single week. If this gave you something useful today, subscribe. Share it with a man in your life who needs to hear it. And leave me a comment below. I want to know where you're starting from, because every man's second act begins somewhere. This is the Reserve Man. I'll see you in the next one.